Oh,
Zoey, it's been a while.
it has. Lovely to see you.
Nice to see you too. Thank you so much for coming on this little podcast of hope. We're calling it Healing Miracles, and it's for people who are struggling. I'm like I have, like you have, and it's just a format to tell everybody, look, life is tricky, and it got dark for me, and I was in trouble, and I bounced off of this hard rock bottom, and here's how this ascent went. So, yeah, I guess just tell everybody a little bit about you and your story and how you kind of slipped and slid into that dark place where things got super tricky, and then some things that maybe helped bounce you off the bottom, and just a little bit about your journey. So yeah, I'll kind of listen and chime in, and it'll be fun to catch up.
Sounds like a plan. Um, so I'm 52, live in the States now, have done for 26 years. Originally a Brit, and I think started suffering from depression when I was very young. Um, and I didn't understand it when I was a teenager, and it grew and grew. I was in an English boarding school, which is always interesting. And aged around about 16, I attempted suicide. Um, and at the time was very upset that it didn't succeed. I took more pills than anybody should ever do. My father was a doctor, and I took his 2 bags of his entire medical emergency bags. So it was over
Wow.
150 bottles of pills.
Oh
Um,
my God.
and they found me just in time. I died twice in the hospital, and remember floating over myself and being so angry that I wasn't just gone. And came out, was let out of hospital. England is very different with therapy and psychiatrists. That's just not really, it wasn't a thing back then.
Mm.
So it was like, pull yourself together, get over it. It was explained at school that I'd had a bad stomach bug.
Oh geez.
And that was it. And then straight back into school. And very different attitude. It's very British in the way, pull up your socks, come on, get on, don't be so ridiculous. Everything's going to be fine. So it
Yeah,
was like, okay, I'm told. I
we,
tried everything. Like I didn't have any other idea on what to do. So I was like, fine, I give up. I'm just going to keep on plodding along. So I
wow.
plodded along for a long time. And I think there was many reasons behind it. Now I can look back at it but I think right from the beginning, it's always been, I have never liked myself
Mm.
deep down and felt like I truly belonged, and that I was just the odd person out and I wasn't supposed to be here. That is how I felt.
Gotcha.
I threw myself into work, I like to be successful. I like to be recognized for my work. No one wanted to date me. So I was like, fine, let's just throw myself into insane amounts of work. Um, have struggled with my weight most of my life, but was what I would call podgy when I was little. And now menopause and everything else, it's all gone to a different level. But I fought my entire life with my weight, my entire life. And I think it's very hard on you, and hard on a person to not be accepted, whatever you do. And if you live off 500 calories a day and you're exercising and still not losing weight, and you eventually just say, whatever, I'm just going
Yeah.
to, I can't do life. So I'm just going to work, and I'm going to make people proud of me and want to be around me because I'm really good at what I do.
Love it. Yeah.
And and I was the number one superstar. Zoe, if you do X, Y, and Z, you want to go to America, we will send you to America. You need to be the top salesperson. Okay, bring it on. And
Wow.
I did it. Up at 4:30, 5 o'clock every morning, working 6.5 days a week. I got here. All I ever wanted to do was live in America. And I later found out that I like to run. So it's great. I run from country to country. Been here since 1999, threw myself into work. And my episodes of depression have gone up and down. It's very much been, as long as I'm successful at work, it was I could push everything else down. I'm a Brit. We like to drink. So I was a drinker, not excessively, but excessively enough. I mean, we're brought up, and my parents, everybody I know, 6 o'clock, you have a beverage or
Mm.
two every day of the week.
Wow.
because but it's normal. You say, wow, Dr. Brooks, to me, I'm like, you mean you don't pour a glass of wine at 6 o'clock? That, to me, it's night and day. And you go out on the weekends, you party like a rock star. So you partied hard, I worked hard. Life was great,
Yeah.
kind of, but it wasn't. I was just pushing everything down.
Yeah,
And
I was gonna say, as you talk, you can kind of feel like this strategy of life and self-worth, I mean, all of us have tried like various variations of those themes, and I can just feel something coming. Like, it's all the heavy work, the stress, getting your identity from productivity and professionalism. I mean, 6 hours a day, and the alcohol, it's just like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like at some point, yeah, I'll let you keep talking,
no,
but
I'll just keep, and I just kept on battling. And I was in a high pressure job, eventually just burnt out, and decided enough was enough. Quit. September 11th was 9/11 was interesting, working. And just suddenly, I think to me, that was one of the kickoff points. Like, we are not safe, necessarily safe wherever we are, and whatever we do, things could change the next day.
right.
And I eventually left, having been just deciding that the work environment was not going to be perfect for me, and decided to do something else. Moved into real estate. I did really well. And I love working and
Mm.
I love helping people. So a lot of the time I was happy. And then I'd crash and be low again. And then pull yourself up, buck up, Zoe. I saw therapists. Most of them were not great. And I just, it was, I have gone through so many times in my life where I have written my letters, packed half my boxes. And it's always been, I made a promise to my parents after my first attempt. They said I would have broken the family, and it was all put on guilt on me. You
Mm.
can never do it again. And because it would break up the family, it would kill us all. Fine. So that was always the thing. I'm not allowed to do it. And all I wanted, I think I'd been looking for the last 10 years for somebody to give me the off switch and the permission. And I have great times. I love going on vacation. I've got some best friends. When I'm happy, I'm really happy. And when I'm low, there is no end in sight. And if I'm not, real estate's been slower. So for the last couple of years, it's been tougher because I'm not battling with work. I'm not suppressing all my feelings, and I'm not at least being successful at work and finding people homes and making people happy.
Right, right.
And so a lot of more loneliness. And I never thought I was a lonely person. I like being on my own. Would love to be in a relationship, but I think it just didn't happen that way.
Right. Yeah.
And all of this came back to my weight. So it was,
Mm.
I've done everything that's never going to change. I hurt all over. I lived in Uganda for 5 years, came back 7 years ago. I got very sick there. I've had a bad back for so much of my life. Herniated discs, slip discs, where I wouldn't be able to walk for weeks. And it's just like, well, it is what it is. I got this spinal disease when I lived in Uganda. It was not fun. I basically couldn't walk, sit, or stand for over 6 months,
Ugh.
and then another 3. And I was airlifted out. It ate my discs in my spine and ended up eating the discs in my knees. So excruciating agony. When people ask from a 1 to a 10, I truly understand what a 10 is.
Wow.
And I was on morphine the entire time, on more drugs, and nothing took the pain away. I recovered. It slowly got a little better, but it never fully recovered. And now I have been in constant pain for over 15 years.
Ugh.
So pain mixed with depression, mixed with menopause. And obviously, I forgot to mention that obviously I'm a Brit, so I smoked like a chimney. And menopause joys, more and more, gave up smoking so I could take HRT, hormone replacement therapy. So that made another 45 pounds on, because my body was like, just gave up. And
Yeah.
it, to me, no work, getting fatter, in constant pain, and lonely with no end in sight. And I could not find a way out. And when I get low, I get low. And I hermit. And I don't go out. I don't want to see anybody because I'm ugly and I'm fat. And who would want to see me? And I'm in pain. So every step I literally take hurts. And all I'm looking for is somebody to give me a light switch. I need the off switch. And I had a full breakdown. Letters were written. 3/4 of my boxes were packed. And it's much easier to attempt to kill yourself age 16 versus 52, because at 52, there's an awful lot more who's dealing with me? What's going on with my money? And to be honest, I would be dead if it wasn't for that. But there's so much involved, and I hate selfish people. Like, selfishness disgusts me and angers me. So how can I kill myself and leave other people to pick up the packet, pick up everything? So wills were done, everything was done, pack up the boxes, let's move into a rental, which my parents never got. I'm like, if I'm out of a condo, it means I'm not, for me, a rental was easy. Then no one has to sell my stuff. And I was supposed to go and do something with a friend, and I flatly refused to go. And she knows me well enough. She's my sister who isn't my sister. And
What's going on? Yeah.
she turned up outside my door the next day, and I wouldn't let her in. And she's like, I've got coffee. I'm not going anywhere. And in an hour, I'm calling the police for a wellness check. I know you. And
Wow.
I was sitting on my sofa in a hoodie 4 sizes too big, black, because all I wear is black, hiding. And I couldn't look. I couldn't, when I get really bad, even getting words out, the pain was insane. My knees, my back, even my digestive system, nothing was working. Everything just, and I knew she wasn't going to take no for an answer. I see an amazing therapist who I love to pieces, who I trust implicitly, and I am blessed for truly good therapy. That, having had, what I would say to other people, if you don't find the right therapist, keep trying, because there are people out there that truly are right for you, and you just need to find the right mix, the right somebody that you trust. And to me, it was about trust and safety, and which I later realized are huge things to me, and as they are to everybody. I needed an answer for when my friend walked in, and I had literally been up all night, because when I'm down, I don't sleep, or I sleep all the time because I'm so tired and I don't want to do anything. And
Right.
when I sleep, I don't hurt and I don't think. So if you drink lots, smoke some weed, then you're not thinking. And that was me. I have more prescription pills and pain pills in my house. They don't bother me. I don't touch them. They don't really what I need such strong pain meds. And people are like, well, why don't you take that? And no, that's bad for you.
Mm.
So I'll drink some vodka and smoke some weed and just push it all down. And I started to Google the night before, and the morning of, when she was outside, literally pain relief, therapy, depression, retreat, help. I remember typing in help. And this, the bridge kept coming up.
Mm.
And I literally was at the end of my tether. I I had driven around twice trying to get somebody to shoot me, because I live in Chicago. Because I thought, so if somebody shoots me, then I haven't killed myself. Well, nobody wanted to shoot me, which really sucked at the time. So I was just like, I need to try. But for me, that you're laughing, and I'm
Well,
such.
I the most tragic things, you get on that level, it gets almost laughable. Like when it gets so dark that you start driving through the hoods of Chicago with your windows down, kind of like hoping that a stray bullet will come through there. Like,
Well, I was
wow,
driving my Mercedes, so I'm like, maybe they'll want my car. Come on, come and try and steal
carjacker.
my white Mercedes. And if not, maybe I'll go and buy heroin and just shoot. I wouldn't know what on earth to do with it anyway. Or maybe I'll buy myself a gun, because I'm not like that. I'm 52 years old.
Well, I know you too, so I have a little bit of leeway with to mess around with you, but I mean really that
Well,
little snapshot that shows you how dark that got. Like that is
I was done. So to shut my friend up, it was like, look at what I found. What do you think of this place? Because the bridge kept coming up, and then I would see other places, and I'm like, I don't need to be hospitalized, which I later found out that my therapist and my friend were about to put me on a psych hold.
oof,
Awesome, because they knew.
yeah.
And it was I was terrified about the bridge because it sounded like it was a lot of things that I couldn't do. And by this time I was on a cane, just standing up. To get out of bed took me 15 minutes with tears pouring down my face because I hurt so much. And just no incentive. And Google, and kept finding, kept every search I did, the bridge kept coming up. And I looked at it and I just showed her the computer and said, what do you think? And she's like, this looks good. What about other places? I'm like, it keeps coming back to the bridge. And I'm like, it's not a hospital. It's not for addictions. It sounds like this is what I need. I'm like, can you call them? Because I couldn't, I literally was white, shaking, and to get a sentence out was tough. So she actually ended up calling, speaking to Colton, having a chat, and saying, okay, this sounds good. And I was writing messages for her to ask. And she's like, okay, I think this is good. They sound real. And by this time, when I left here, and it was very complicated in my head on how to get there because my brain had stopped functioning. And I'm an intelligent businesswoman who actually loves to work, loves to do things. But when I am down, I am physically not even capable of booking a flight and working out how I'm getting there. But it seemed like this was a good thing. And I had been told by some doctors, because of my spinal disease, that no one could ever do surgery on my back. And they're just like, it's going to get worse, get used to it. So pain was always going to be an issue. I didn't know I just wanted somebody to give me permission to turn off the lights. That's what I wanted. But
I remember those first couple of days, even at the bridge, like you were ornery and
oh, I was horrible. And I'm not a horrible person.
No, you're not at all. But
I'm really not. But I think I also, in where I've lived in the world, trust has to be earned.
Yeah.
And I think we discussed this, that it didn't feel like it might not be real. And there are so many scams out there. And when your brain's not functioning and you don't trust anybody, including yourself,
Right.
how do you trust this place? Right. And I basically thought, and then I'm like, I chatted to my friend and she's like, well, when are you going? I'm like, well, it starts in 4 days or 5 days. I can't be there in 5 days. She's like, you're going to wait a month and 5 days? What are you going to do? And I'm like, but it's so expensive. And she's like, is it really? Look at what they do. You need a combination of doctors and therapists and everything else. I don't want to be around that many people. I can't even get out of bed. I hurt. All I want to do is sleep. I've been told I have had chronic fatigue syndrome in the past. People were talking, did I have fibromyalgia because I hurt all over?
Right.
I'm going to go. I have nothing to lose. And there's a very good chance I'm not coming back, because if it fails, I'm hiring a car and I'm driving into a tree. I'm enough set up at home. I've done my best. Bye-bye. And then I arrived at the bridge and I was horrible, but I was so scared. I was terrified, and I was terrified that I'd just wasted my savings, because I live on my own. So my savings are what I will retire on. I don't have a husband making money. It's me.
Yeah.
So, and I was brought up, money is very important. And once you put it into savings, you never touch it. Yeah. How messed up is that? And eventually I just thought, I have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And then when I arrived and things weren't quite what I expected or had imagined, it was different. And the British American thing is different. We don't talk about our feelings. My therapist, when I told him I was going, was very worried that there'd be a lot of group, because he's like, you don't talk in front of people. That changed. And I turned up on a cane where I could hardly move because getting there was so hard. I collapsed in the airport because my back gave out. I was in a wheelchair. It's just a mess. And people had said to me, maybe part of this pain is in your head. And I'm like, I feel it. I feel it in a lot of it was as my spine was collapsing on the left-hand side, and it felt like there was a carving knife shoved in my back.
Yeah.
And my left leg goes totally numb. And I'm just, what do you mean I'm going to go hiking? I can't hike. I can hardly walk from one house to another. I can't sit for more than 5 minutes. I have to lie down. All of this. And I discovered something amazing. And I was very worried about it being faith-based. And it's not that I'm not, I don't follow a religion, but I am spiritual.
Yeah.
And I don't think I had realized how spiritual I was until I got to the bridge. And every my pain was real, but there was so much trauma that was trapped in my body. And I think being surrounded by people where we really, after a few days, because the first couple of days is tough, where you're wondering, why am I here? There's all these people. I don't get massaged. I don't get naked on a table and no, let
Right.
somebody touch the rolls of fat. Like that's not going to happen. And by the end of the bridge, I'm literally running into the massage room, throwing my clothes high so I can get as long a massage as possible. At the bridge, we had treatments that was everything. It was holistic. It was every kind of massage that I can imagine, more energy healing and the foot zoning and so many things that I've never heard of. And I think it was about, I live on my own. I'm used to running my schedule. And we just all just handed ourselves over to the bridge. And we were told one thing, do everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm a good girl. If you tell me to do something, I will do it. And my entire house, bar one, all the women, all agreed. We looked at each other and said, we're together. We agree we will do everything. Unless we're not physically capable. And I'm like, guys, I'll try and do the hikes, but they're like, no, no. I went on every single one. I
I
didn't
remember that.
necessarily hike them, but I turned up to do it.
Love
I
it.
did the somatic yoga when I started in the mornings, where I ended up doing 1 minute standing at the beginning and then did it on the sofa, but I was getting involved and slowly moving my body. And it was a combination of energy work, and I found my woo-woo. And I know that that sounds strange, but something about Utah I felt safe. I felt the safest I've ever felt.
Mm.
So I was able to give of my all. And where we were was beautiful, and there is energy, and it's about movement. I love the diet you put us on. I was so I knew alcohol wasn't going to be involved, and I have never not drunk for 3 weeks. Like to me, that was just insane. Like I couldn't imagine. When I flew in the night before, I had a little half bottle of red wine in so that I could have some wine because I couldn't imagine going to sleep with no wine, no pot. Like what? Easy. There was coffee. I was happy. I could have a coffee in the morning, the sugar-free, gluten-free, not having to think about it. I'm fussy, so I was making myself salad sometimes and adding a few things in, but never left the compound. Some people were jumping in, and going to do, I never left. I don't want sugar. I don't want Red Bulls. I'm going to do exactly what you tell me to do. And it worked. And 5 or 6 days later, we were a real team. We lucked out so much with the clients that were there, but I would say there was a core 12 or 13 of us that truly will be my friends for the rest of my life. And we not only were we being worked with by the bridge, but we all helped each other with it never stopped, the conversations and understanding. And something I discovered things that I knew nothing about, that I had no memory of, that are so traumatic. And I'm not going to put it on a podcast, but it was stuff that I got so angry that I had managed to suppress stuff that was so horrible. And then we were able to deal with it. And the foot zoning, where they could catch it and say, oh, this happened and this, and working on it. And from the massages to the therapy to the Zoey, I can't do a workout, but I will do water aerobics like a crazy person,
Yeah.
bouncing and doing. And they're like, "What do you?" Because that's the place where I don't hurt. And I arrived 6 days later. One of the guys says, "Are you a plant for the bridge? Because you've gone from being on a cane and sitting on a sofa saying, 'I don't belong. Please allow me to kill myself,' to starting to smile." And you have two ladies there Cami and Shelby, who changed my life. Oh, don't cry.
Mm.
I have never liked myself. I have never loved myself. And at the end of the second week, I asked for permission to stand up in front of everybody before one of the lectures started and said, I love myself, and twirled around and said I'm a fairy and being silly. But they made me start to see me. And I have hated my body. I've been told all my life that I'm fat, so no one will ever love me. So when you get fatter, it gets worse. And they're fine, you're good at work, you're not good for anything else. That's how I felt. And they showed me a light, and I have no idea how or what, but everybody there made me feel like I belong. And I think I went from the lowest of the low, the darkest of the dark, to somebody who 3 or 4 days before the end managed to walk 5 miles, which to most people is nothing. To me, that is unbelievable, through
Yes.
Mount Zion. And I was so proud of myself.
Mm.
And I wanted to do more, but my leg was so dead and numb. And is my back 100% fixed? No, but what I've worked out is that really good massage and stretching and movement and the right diet and so much. And I arrived this broken. I don't care. I no longer live, because that is actually because how horrible I was because I didn't actually, I was no longer on this earth when I arrived. This was my last, I gave it a shot, bugger off everybody. And I found me again, and I found the strength in me. And it's also the practitioners that you have that I truly felt loved and listened to, as well as and I was allowed to shine, and I was never embarrassed about me. And I remember walking through my house, and one of the girls was in there, ladies, was tiny. I mean, tiny. But what I dreamt of being, I've never been that size. And I apologized as I came down in my swimsuit, wrapped in a coverall, all wrapped up, and apologized. And they just looked at me and said, what on earth are you apologizing for? You're here, just have fun. And I found a way to love myself. And that is worth its weight in gold. And I came back, I didn't follow the diet as strictly. I started to hurt. It's, you show us the way, you gave us the light, and I now have the light. And I found an energy and started shutting up the voices in my head that were constantly there, the negative. You can't do that, you can't do that, that's not right, that's, you're this, you're that. And those just stopped. And what I managed to do was start hearing, this makes me sound crazy, but listening to the world and the energy, and starting to actually listen to the good stuff. And it was life-changing.
I remember one of those mornings you came down and just, if you don't mind me sharing, just in tears. And I put my arms around you and I'm like, Zoe, you okay? And you're like, I'm so good. And I'm like, I'm so glad. And you just said, I am pretty amazing. And I'm like, yeah. Yeah. And just these happy tears and this wonderful woman. And I was just like, your body and your mind are going to start playing nice now, you know, and to watch you just keep getting better and better and stronger and stronger. And that all of that energy that was used to kind of talk about the vinegar and the fight and the dark, when you came in, a tremendous amount of energy committed and dedicated to that discussion. And the same amount of energy of this, I mean, you're an amazing woman energetically, and to have that shift over to hope and light, and I'm amazing, and if you don't like me, like, screw off, you know. Like, I mean, it was,
I don't give an F was never something that I never thought like that. I cared about everybody else and what everyone else thought of me.
yeah,
And this not caring anymore, I care deeply, but I don't, if you don't like me, go away.
right,
I don't
right,
have space for you anymore. And
right.
that was life-changing.
Yeah, I remember you said those words to me even, and I'm like, I love it. I love that. I think that that's spectacular for you to get so in touch with you and the amazing parts of you that you really do become very disinterested in everybody else's like wrong opinion. It doesn't, it's not that you don't like them or don't care about them. It's that it's irrelevant. It's like if somebody came and said, hey Zoe, run, run, there's a pink elephant that just fell out of an airplane, it's gonna fall on you, you'd be like, what's wrong with you? I'm not running anywhere. Like, I mean, that's an irrelevant, it's a stupid comment. Like, and comments about you shifted from holy crap, they might be true to that's so irrelevant. I'm getting to know myself and it's just not, it doesn't really matter anymore. I loved seeing that progress in you. I love that.
Thank you. And I think one of the things I got back was I saw somebody was rude to me or gave me a look when I came back or something. I can't remember what it was. I just remember my brain going, your loss.
Mhm.
And they chose to not use me or be around. And I'm just like, it's your loss, not mine. Because
Yeah,
you're not the type of person I'd actually want to spend time with.
right.
Your team. I remember when I broke and realized I kept saying to my therapist before I had come, I have this black cloud in me that hurts in my chest. It is this thing. And I hadn't stopped shaking for 4 months before that. My shaking would never stop. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, internal tremors, stop within a week. But I said to one of your providers who watched me just break, and she's like, what do you need? I said, I need to scream.
Hmm.
I need to shout. I have something that is so horrible inside me that needs to come out. And she's like, okay, meet outside at 5:30 tomorrow morning. I'm like, where? I'm like, no one can be around. They will call the police. What is in here is awful. And she kind of looked at me like, yeah, sure. And she drove me to the middle of nowhere with this lake in front and mountains behind and said, I'll get in the car. I'm going to put my earphones in, have at it. And I can't do this. That's rude. And I stood there, and the noise that came out of me was even worse than I thought it was going to be. And if anybody's ever seen the Green Mile where he just lets out in the black
Hmm.
whatever flies or whatever come out, that is what I felt came out of me.
Hmm.
And it was as if I needed to be at the bridge. I explained to somebody, screaming my pillow isn't going to do it. Like, I need to release this to the world.
Yeah.
And I got back into the truck. She's like, wow. That needed to come out, didn't it? She's like, I didn't expect that. I'm like, it was, and everything helped, but just being able to say to somebody, I need to do this.
Yes.
Somebody not questioning, just saying, absolutely.
Yeah.
And listening to my body. And then it was the safety. I
Yeah.
had never felt lonely until I left the bridge. When I left the bridge for the first time in my 52 years, I felt lonely.
Hmm.
Um, because I'd been around more people for so long that I'd been around forever and then coming back to being on my own again. But I am a different person. I feel stronger. I'm still working on my back, but it is 95% better. And I understand why it causes problems, but understanding it makes it easier. And I found a massage therapist who's not as good as any of your guys, but that's what it is. But I got home and I now get up in the morning and do my somatic movements. And when I heard, even if it's bad, and I just laugh at myself and then I just giggle because I'm like, Zoe, at least you're trying.
Yeah.
Life is looking good, and I'm seeing a future. And I went from looking for permission to turn off the light switch and to stop the pain mentally and physically, to thinking, what am I going to do next? Where am I going to go? How do I give back? I don't enjoy that anymore. I listen to my body. I listen to my brain. And am I magically cured in a size 6? No. And I don't think I'm ever going to be a size whatever, but
Yeah.
I'm going to be healthy, feed good stuff into my body. I recognize that not putting alcohol into my body is a good thing. I do it occasionally now, but I no longer keep alcohol in my house.
Hmm.
And that is, I'll do it if I go out with friends, if I want a glass of wine, but
Yeah.
it's not a 6 o'clock at night thing. I, I'm excited about life. I'm excited. I want to help other people. I want to show them that however much pain, and I truly understand pain, that it is fixable with to some degree. And you just have to let go. What is the sentence, what have you got to lose? To me, is the whole thing. I had nothing else left to lose. And I just let go and said, I give myself, prove to me that you can help. And, less than 3 weeks later, I skipped out, got on an airplane, and came home this bouncy energizer bunny who didn't know what to do with herself and just wanted to stand on the top of the world and shout, I'm here. And I never thought that that was possible. And so I think, nutshell, however bad it is, there is a good light on the other side. But it takes a team, and it takes, I don't know if you can actually do it at home. And that sounds awful, but I think you actually have to give yourself, like we did at the bridge, of just saying, I trust you implicitly. I will do what you say. I will listen to everything. And I know there were some people who are like, I don't get that.
Right, right.
That's fine. You did everything. There's so many different modalities that we tried, and some were amazing, and some weren't necessarily for some people. But that doesn't matter. If you don't try it, you don't know.
Right.
And I think it's about, what have you got to lose? Nothing.
Yeah.
You have only things to gain. And I am a different person. And I hope that I am now in a place, and I've come back and gone up and down, but I've learned to ground myself.
Right, right.
What can pull me up now? And I now know to listen to myself. Am I feeling a bit low? Or is it a bit, I've had a really bad week, and I did last week, not great. Okay, sit down, put my selection, pick myself up music, put my feet on the ground, breathe, and remember how bad it used to be. You don't want that anymore. Let's look forwards.
Love it. I love it. I'm just, the thing I love the most, well, I love a lot of things about your story, but when you first came in, your energy was massive, like I mentioned before. And I thought, man, if this woman can channel that, I mean, just keep the energy. Like I don't care that right now it's full of nails and vinegar. That doesn't, I'm not interested in what it is. Just the amount of it was so impressive. And as you shifted and switched and kicked and screamed and fought your way through that space, I mean, I love that now you're like, I get to feel those things just as intently, but I shifted the focus and the content, and I mean, I have bad days too. I have bad weeks too, but the way that you deal with those and manage those, I mean, hearing how different that is just spectacular. Zoey, I miss your voice. I miss your energy. We had so much fun. And I also miss you like hitting me in the mouth during my lectures and being, being tricky, but
Sorry.
no, it's such good. I mean, you end up dear friends when you respect each other like that, and you can really fight and then kind of wipe each other's bloody noses and go to lunch. Like that's, to me, that's the epitome of a good friendship, is where both people get to really take some swings and then love each other. And man, we love you, and I'm so proud of you out there. And I'll mention this too. Everybody, this woman called me even during a time that wasn't going that well and said, I want to help. How can I help? Like, I want to talk to people that are interested in coming. Like, what can I do? And I thought, man, the shift from I want the light switch I can turn off to, do you have some phone numbers that I can call to help some of these people that are in the dark, is just so monstrous and so spectacular. Zoey, I love you. Like, it's just,
And I love you guys too. And you managed to find something that works. And I truly believed that nothing could work. Nothing. Which was why the nails and vinegar arrived, because it was like, fine. But it is a place of love and of safety. And I'm still in contact with I actually had a bridge week last week. I met up with 2 of the people who've been at the bridge and had 3 other phone calls with other people of just our lunch, 1.5-hour lunch ended up being a 5.5-hour lunch. It was, it is about, we have all said how safe we felt. And I think for people, and there were people that were there who had just gone for pain.
Yeah.
that it was life-changing for them.
Yeah.
And I know we don't talk about names on here, but there were a couple that were just in shock and awe. And I'm not here for depression. I'm just here for pain.
Right.
And walking out going, I'm not in pain anymore.
Yeah.
And it is just, thank you. I think is all I can say for providing something. I just want more people to know, and to know that there is something out there that can truly help. If you're willing to just release control,
Yes.
which for me is, I'm a control freak. If you're willing to just release control for 3 weeks to see what's out there, the bridge can help.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I've taken a lot of your time, but it's so wonderful to hear you. And I'm going to throw people your way that need to hear you and hear that energy. And we're even talking, I'll say this too, we're even talking about having Zoey come out to the program and spending a week here or there to kind of give us her energy and talk about what it's like to go home and transition and what she learned. So if you do come to the bridge, you just might see her there wandering the halls.
You may.
And and whipping you into shape. You can tell that she'll do it too. So anyway, Zoey, thank you so much.
No, thank you, Dr. Brooks, and thank you to all of your team. And I look forward to coming and visiting soon.
Can't wait to see you. Love you. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.